This
board of
conference will
directors
now be recorded.
to administer whatever's needed to be done in the way of business for the board or for the HOA. It's not ran by members. If it was ran by members, you wouldn't need a board. But the HOA is run by board members. Now your vote comes in when you vote to put somebody on the board. If you don't like their views, don't vote for them. And this might be my last board meeting, because on 1 July, there's going to be a vote. And if the majority of the people that vote say, we don't like Eugene on the board, I'm going to walk, and I'll be happy to do that. But I am not leaving the board. I've been asked to resign by several people. I've received emails that were threatening. I've had phone calls where I was warned and cautioned. I was informed that the safety of the board members may be in jeopardy and that I should resign immediately. Now, I am not going to do that. The 1 July will determine whether I'm still on the board on the 2nd of July. And that's the way our democratic society works. You have a vote, and you can vote. That's the process, and I'm good with that. But I'm not going to resign due to threats or concern for my safety or the board member's safety. But I will tell you that I've had a board member, or not a board member, I had a person who I was encouraging to put their name in and be a candidate to replace Gail or I in May when we come off the board. Guess what? With all the chaos in the last couple of months, they backed out, said, nope, I don't want nothing to do with it. I had a treasurer I was working on to replace Gail in September. Guess what? With all the chaos in the last 2 months, they backed out, said, I'm not doing it. So I don't know how we're going to replace Gail and I in May, if not earlier, come 1 July. I don't know how you're going to do it, because there's not many people that really want to be up here and take the kind of email abuse that we're subject to. So I'd ask you, I'm all about having a discussion, and I've listened to some comments. Some people have made some suggestions. I know there was a survey that Dick put out about giving the people an opportunity to speak. I'm all about that. We're going to have, on our order of business today, we're going to have residents' comments on order of business items for the day, right up front. Now, what that means is, if you want to speak on something that's on the order of business, you raise your hand, you get acknowledged by the chair, and I will ask you to stand over here at the podium so that you can be seen by everybody that's out there virtually, and you will get a short period of time to make your comments. It's not a question and answer session with the board. This is a comments for you as a resident to make to everybody that's sitting in this room, as well as the ones that are on virtually, and to the board members. We will hear your comments, and then you will sit down. If somebody else wants to come up, they will come up, they'll be acknowledged, they'll make their comments, and they'll sit down. And then we're going to get to that, when we get to that item on the order of business, the board members will have a discussion. If there's additional information about that topic that you would like to speak about that you did not think about when you came up here and gave your comments, raise your hand, and I'll ask you, do you have pertinent information on the topic that we're discussing? If you say yes, I'm going to allow you to speak, and we'll cover that, and then we'll move on to the next order of business. Now, the very end is a residential information meeting that will be held right after the meeting, and you can ask any question. So you can ask any question that is not on the order of business, and I would be glad to stay here as long as you want to discuss anything. Okay? That is the way this meeting should go. But I need your cooperation in order to make it happen. The last couple of meetings have been very disruptive, and it's been hard for board members to focus on what our business is of the day. So I just ask a little bit of cooperation there. So we're going to go right into residents' comments on the order of business items for the day. Do we have any residents that would like to come up here and give us some comments within 3 minutes about anything that's on the order of business today? Okay, I do not see any hands, so I'll move on.
Eugene,
So yeah,
can I make a comment?
sure. You want to make a comment? Come on up here to the podium.
I can speak from here.
Yeah, okay.
In light of the current situation here in the Gardens, I am making a motion that Mr. Eugene Turpin be removed from his position as president of the Gardens RV Village Homeowners Association effective immediately.
I second it.
What happened? Already set up.
Excuse me, Gil?
It's already set up.
What's set up?
On July 1st.
No, I'm talking about today, right now, immediately.
Oh. Okay, who do you recommend replacing?
For our bylaws, Article 8, Section 5, the board may remove any person in position.
Agreed.
That's what it says. So I made the motion, Liz seconded, needs to be discussed amongst the board and then voted on.
Article 8 of what? Bylaws?
Bylaws, Article 8, Section 5.
Section 5. I see Article 8, Section 5. Any officer. Thank you.
I'm extremely sorry. I had the times mixed up. I thought it was 9 p.m. to 9.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you for coming. If you want to, I'd like to introduce Brandon, right? Brandon Scott. He is a sheriff's deputy. I've asked for him to be present at today's meeting because of the safety threats across. And
You gotta be kidding. What are you, coming back Paradise Lunch?
Wait a minute, guys. We got a motion on the table that we are discussing at the moment.
So I would like to discuss that just a bit. We already have in place a meeting for that vote to take place.
That meeting is the removal of Eugene from the board.
Yes.
I'm asking for removal as president of the board. That's two different things.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Rick Abbey. I have several things that I would like to put forward in terms of what's transpired here today. And I guess the most noteworthy is the fact that we have alleged threats to the board. I think in a homeowners association of this nature, to have that happening indicates that we either, number one, have a bunch of children in the homeowners association that would even do that, or number two, that it's not nearly as big as what we've just been led to believe in the discussion going on here. I know personally I have never threatened anybody on the board. I do know that, as Mr. Turpin indicated, that for the last 2 months, we've had a significant amount of chaos and dissension on the part of the board. And my view is that this dissension has to be addressed, whether Eugene is removed from the board or whether he's left on the board. There are a number of threads that flow through this, one of which is it seems that there have been a number of unilateral decisions, from what I read on the homeowners blog, that have been made by the president and not perhaps supported by the rest of the board and not received comment from our membership as to what's going on, which is, to me, unacceptable. It is not the right behavior. The fact that we have a sheriff coming into this room today is absolutely unacceptable for a bunch of adults who should be able to sit here and discuss issues without having a law officer here to maintain control. It's an indication to me that Mr. Turpin has been unable to maintain control over our membership. And as a result, I would clearly support the motion that's on the floor right now to deal with it. But in addition to that, we have to figure out a way as members to get people on the board who will abide by the rules that, you know, in terms of regulations, et cetera. And I know that later today we'll be talking about penalties and fines for not adhering to certain rules, which is, you know, in my view, not needed. We're adults. We ought to be able to talk amongst our friends and our neighbors and figure out what's going on. We don't need it. So I think we've got a number of problems to solve. We got to get rid of this dissension on the board. I agree, we have to get more people interested in being on the board, but it's to do things that are in the best interest of the association, and we don't have to make work and make things happen because we want to be powerful on the board, which is my view of what's going on right now. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Eugene,
Yes.
can I speak?
You want to speak? Come on up, Dick.
I just want to make,
We still have a motion on the table.
I want to address,
So we'll suspend the rules and allow,
I want to address the concern about threats
yeah.
and make it real clear. Threats are an assault, making you fear bodily injury. I want you to know, Eugene, if you have those emails, I have the capability of identifying who sent you the email, if it was sent anonymously. And that is a criminal behavior. If you want to pursue that, I'm happy to help.
Thank you, Dick. So we have a motion on the table to remove the president, and we have a second. Any further discussion by the board members?
I will just back up. My second was saying that I believe it has been, as Rick said, a power thing. I know that most all of the agenda that's been pushed this spring has been initiated by Eugene. Now, I do have to say that we have voted on it. There are times that we have agreed with it or modified it, but I'm seeing too many untruths. I'm seeing too many, damn it. Eugene has lied to me on a number of occasions and twists the truth to other people. I don't feel that he should be the president of anything. I would not even want to have him controlling my dog. I love him too much. Eugene is in it for Eugene. Yes.
Is that it?
Mhm.
Any other discussion on the board members? From the board members before we take a vote? Hearing and seeing no other discussion on this topic. The motion on the table is to remove Eugene Turpin as president from the board of directors. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
Yeah.
Okay, we have two that are for the motion. All those opposed, please raise your right hand. We have 4 opposed. So the motion fails. Next order of business is approval of the minutes of previous meetings. 6 May annual board meeting. I had some revisions on that I sent out to everybody. And everybody should have got a chance to look that over. And if you have any questions on the things that I brought up, now's the time to bring it up.
Eugene, there was one correction. There was no indication on there that I asked you to recuse yourself. And I did it more than once, and it is not reflected in the minutes.
Okay, what page was that you're referring to?
I don't have the page number right now.
These are the minutes you wrote, Liz.
Are we looking at the May 6th minutes?
And I'm making it's never a later date meeting. Okay, it had to be the closed board then because Eugene did the minutes for it.
The minutes that you wrote?
I misspoke. It is not in the minutes
Okay.
that I took. It is in the minutes that you, it must have been the next later date.
Okay, we're talking about the annual meeting that we did on the 6th of May.
It's not the 6th, I'm sorry.
That was Tuesday morning at 9:30. So it all,
I move they be accepted as the last revision.
Second.
okay, I have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as per the last revision that was sent out electronically to all board members. Any discussion on that? Any exception to that? Hearing none, and it is so moved that the board will accept the annual meeting minutes that was done on Tuesday as last electronically sent to the board members. The next item on the order of business is organizational meeting minutes. And the organizational meeting minutes was also revised, and I sent that out electronically to all the board members. Are there any issues with the revision that I sent out? I know, Liz, you made one recommendation. I added that in there. That was the only, I think Liz was the only one that responded on that revision. If there's no corrections needed and no objections, then the minute will be approved as last revised for the organizational meeting. Okay, the next one is the minutes of the members. Now, the minutes of the members was sent out also electronically to all the board members. Did anybody have any exceptions to that? I think that was the one, Liz, you sent me a note and I added that in there. Yep. Okay, so any other changes that need to be made to the revision or the meeting of the members? Hearing none, then the minutes for the meeting of the members on 6 May is approved. The next item is a 20 May special board of directors meeting. And there was minutes for that meeting. That went out electronically to all board members. And I don't think I got any feedback on that one from anybody that anything needed to be changed. So is the board going to accept the minutes of the special virtual board meeting on 20 May as written? Hearing no objection, so approved. Okay, the next item of business is the treasurer report. Treasurer, do you have a report?
Oh, yeah. This is the report for May 2025. That month, May, we had expenditures of $8,988.93. This included normal utility bills, officer committee budgeted reimbursements, along with special payments to the grow with the flow, to mow the common areas, for cuts. And they had for storm debris cleanup. We had 2 pretty good storms in that area. They were asked to do that. Andrew Rodriguez, reinstall light posts. Oh, that's Sparky here.
Porky, no, he's not here.
Okay. And electric work for sidewalk from the bridge to Holly Tree Drive. Legendary Lawn. They are our weed and feed treatment group for the common areas. They did treatment number 1. R. Wayne White, he performed an outside financial audit for the fiscal year 24-25. Irrigation mechanic. Lister's grounds person here needed to restart the sprinkling system, irrigation system, which basically covers up in the front, right?
Yeah.
That hadn't been run for quite a while, so anyway, we got paid for startup repairs of the irrigation system. Jackson Heating and Cooling, they did spring tune-up on the clubhouse HVAC. Finished the month with a balance of $688.16 in our checking account and $233,855.06 in our savings account. That also includes the $31,702.90 in the financial reserve account. So far, in this fiscal year 25-26, we have received 90.1% of our budgeted income and spent 8.4% of our budgeted expense. That's my report.
Okay, any questions for the treasurer from the board of directors? All right, next order of business, the committee reports.
Oh, I'd like to make a motion to accept the pending audit.
Okay. We have a motion to accept the treasury report as disseminated pending annual audit. Any second?
I'll second.
Okay, we got Gary Barone seconded. Beat you out, Julie. So all those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Okay, ayes have it. The treasurer's report will be accepted pending annual audit. All right, next order of business is committee reports. I sent all the committee reports out. The latest revision came out this morning or late last night, I think it was. So if it's not on here, then there was no report. And some committees don't have a report every month. This will be disseminated along with the minutes. The only thing that I noted in the committee's reports that needed board attention was from the Architectural Control Committee.
Right.
And that we can either do that now or we can do that. I had it listed as an order of business for later on. It's up to the board. You want to deal with that now or later? I did not see anything else in the committee reports that needed board attention. Did any other directors see anything? No? Okay.
I say we handle it under 9C.
9C, okay, we will get to that. Old business. Update on the development of a survey on fences for the community. Any movement on that, Liz?
Not yet, no.
Do you have some members that, I know you were looking for some help, and you got a little bit, right?
I've got a couple of people who volunteered.
A couple people volunteered, so that's still in progress. We're looking at what, July?
Yep.
Okay.
Just for a sample to, take a look at for the board and then let them need approval and that kind of thing.
Okay. All right, anything else on that? Nothing really to add? Okay. Next order of business is a proposal to rescind the motion to amend policy 20, reference community communication rules. Policy 20 was, it's our it is our community communication rules. And last month, I made a proposal, it was before the board, to amend it. And once it goes in front of the board and is being looked at and considered by the board, it cannot be just simply rescinded unless the board agrees. So I'm asking the board's permission to withdraw my previous motion to amend policy 20.
Make a motion that we rescind the policy 20.
Okay, so I have a motion to do it. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Who's that?
Jeff,
Jeff got a second. Okay, Jeff did the second on that one. And Liz made the motion. Okay, so then what's on the table right now for the board to consider, if there's no further discussion, is a motion and a second to allow me to withdraw the amendment consideration that was submitted at the last board meeting to amend policy 20 community communication rules, which means then communication rules will remain unchanged. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All those opposed? So we got 6 and 0. All right. Next order of business. Then, so as it will stand, policy 20 will stand as it was previously written. So the next order of business is proposal to add a policy that addresses fines for violations of our governing documents and policies. That was a suggested addition to our policies, which would have been numbered policy 22. That policy was also brought before the board in last month's meeting, and it was postponed to be looked at during this meeting. However, based on a lot of the emails that I've seen, and I perceive there's a lack of interest in creating a procedure for violating our governing documents and policies at all. So if the board would allow me, I would propose that I withdraw that proposal of policy 22. And we need to have a vote to do that.
I mean, before we have a vote, Eugene, if I could say, I believe that we need something, don't know what that something is, to ensure that everybody maintains their yard, maintains their house. Do not put a fence up unless they have approval. Do not change any architectural thing without approval, because if you don't have something, then really anybody can just do whatever the heck they want to do. But I mean, for fine, I mean, 2,500, heck no. But I mean, I don't know whether we should have even a committee. I don't know that I have the total answer here, but something. We know that in phase 8, we know that we are required, we can be fined. It says it right there. 1 through 5, maybe not. And I'm not saying that we should be putting the hammer down, but a visitation, a conversation, a letter, a something that says you are not doing this right per HOA requirements. It's got to, there's a fine line is what I'm trying to say.
I agree.
Gail would like to speak now. Go ahead, Gail.
We do have something. It's already in the DCR, all 3 of them. Okay. And it's, you're looking for it, it's Article 5, titled Maintenance. Section 2 association remedial marine maintenance. What this allows is for a letter to go out to anyone any resident where the property needs something done to it, according to the standards that have been set up. Letter goes out. By policy, we've done this 3 or 4 times, as I recall. And we send a letter, here's the problem. Please fix it in 30 days, or the HOA will take care of it. Okay? Nothing about monetary, you get it fixed, fine, over and done. But if you don't do that in 30 days, or you're telling the board or the HOA that, no, I ain't gonna do that, well, then the HOA can do it. Okay, like cleaning your house outside, because it's all green on one side. Then it says the association may undertake such maintenance or repairs, and the cost of such maintenance shall be added to and become part of the assessment to which each lot is subject. Okay? And a 30% service fee will be added to any such assessment. There's the penalty. Nothing else is penalty. You get it fixed, you over and done with. This is, like I said, this is in every DCR already. Somebody along the way forgot about it. As I say, it works. We proved it works. All 4 of the times that I recall that we've done this, the homeowner has responded, fixed the problem within 30 days. Over and done with. That's my comment.
That's your comment, okay? Just a minute, Ernie. Any other discussion on the board? Ernie, you have a comment? Please stand up here so that they can get you on video land.
Video, okay. I'm Ernie DeRoche, I live on 192. My question is, does that include the developer, because he owns property here as well?
Sure.
So
It would, okay, it would apply to his own.
That's what I'm talking about. It's lots that he owns, not the ones he's developing.
Not the ones he's developing or has not sold to anybody.
Okay.
Yes, good question. All right. Is there any other discussion? Oh, Mr. Adams.
Just one minor comment here. I think this is a perfect example of coming up with an idea, and I don't know if it was collected or not collected. But when something already exists in our documents, why the board feels it necessary to come up with some other rule to add to our problems. I look at Fairfield Glades, their reputation is that they have a bunch of rules. You don't need them, they're hard to enforce, and penalties and fines are really not needed. It's already covered. I've been in other associations where the same thing exists. If you can't keep your house up, if you don't mow your lawn, somebody's going to come mow it for you. And you're going to pay for it. But at least it's fair. And it's not arbitrary or capricious. It's a fair thing. So I would encourage everybody who's in favor of the board saying, rescind this thing, raising their hands so that the board knows how many people in here want to get rid of it.
All right.
That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Abbey. Okay. Any other discussion from the board members?
In regard to Tim maintaining properties, what about things like the mountain, everyone mountain cement down, refuge down there on Juniper? Because technically it's his land until he's selling.
That's developmental land. That's not a lot that he owns that he's paying HOA dues on, because that's land, but it's not part of the development yet. It's not part of the development.
Yeah, but Eugene,
We saw trucks and trailers go down the other day with more stuff on it, and it just seems like it's growing.
Eugene,
Whose land is it? If it's not Mr. Wilson's,
talk about the MOA that's happening for
Well,
that.
well, what I'm saying is it belongs to Mr. Wilson's company, but it's not part of the HOA development until he does a plat map for it and then it's brought into the development. That's just like this. There's a lot of land out there that he controls and owns, but it's not brought into the development until he goes down and gets it approved through the city.
So I guess what I'm asking is, how do we remedy that? Because that's a big, if not bigger, a situation than others that have been brought before us.
Well, that's a good question. I don't know the answer.
I didn't think Tim owned any of that land up there.
Well, it's technically on the roads, where the road is going through.
Where Juniper's going through?
Yeah. Back here, Eugene?
Mr. Wilson, would you like to comment on any of that? Could you come up here so we can get you on video land? Thank you, sir.
To begin with, it's been reducing the last 2 weeks because we're using some of it. We kind of got hoodooed on that. We were told that this storage unit across the road, same guys that emptied the bags here, they emailed us on a Thursday, emailed Eugene actually,
JJ Construction.
and said, we got 2 loads of fill dirt here. Mind if we just take it over and put it in your space? And they showed a picture of one of these little breakers behind the truck. And it was full of fill dirt. So we said, sure. That was a Thursday afternoon. We came in Monday morning, that hauled all weekend. They had every bit of it over here. I threatened to go down and sign a warrant against him for trespassing and for dumping. Matthew went over and worked the deal out with them where they were originally going to come over and take it up. Since then, you notice we're doing work around the pond. We have enough of a whole area in the back left corner there that we can actually use that stuff as a lift, another lift. So last week we started hauling from that ourselves and putting over to make another lift, make additional space around that park. And I think we're going to be able to use it all. I think it's one of those things that it was a bad thing, it turned into a good thing. But we actually hauled 2 straight days from that. And there's a bunch of it. And I was pissed off too. I mean, I came in on Monday and looked like, I thought, my God, did we tear a house down or something?
Yeah, you can see it from Northway.
They hauled all weekend. And yeah, I was gonna go and sign a warrant against them. But it looks now like it's gonna enable us to bring up the backside of that area that we were setting up for additional green space.
Okay.
And if you notice, we've been working on that. So that's what's gonna happen with the pile. And that's what, like I said, we kind of got hoodooed, but in the long run, I think we'll end up using it. And yeah,
That sounds like
I
reasonable.
was just as pissed as you guys were. Because when I saw that Monday morning, I'm like, what in the world is this? So that's the deal with it.
That sounds like a reasonable solution.
Yeah, it worked out pretty good.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wilson. So, what's on
There's a few.
Their hand in the back.
does this, refer to removing policy 22? This in reference to removing policy 22?
What you were talking about, yes, sir.
Okay, come on up. Please state your name and address and give us your comments.
Good morning, board members. My name is Javier Juarez, and I live at 53 Gardens HOA Drive. I've been living here for 3 years, excuse me. I do believe that you are missing something in your bylaws. I do not know them or part of your committee. That is an architectural hazard and condition that should not be there due to the simplest that it doesn't keep the garden's name as being clean and presentable. So if I was the person who was living on that street and I open up my windows in the morning to see the wonderful things that I put invested my money into it, and the first thing I see is all this rubbish, what kind of a sign are we putting out there for the rest of the community? And if I have friends that are not living in the state of Tennessee and are looking forward to move, and maybe I'm getting business for Mr. Wilson, I can't really tell them. So this should be an architectural thing, that if you're going to be fining people, then that should be something that should be fined, because it is a holding tank, but however, it still makes the community look bad. So if you could please just get a committee in your architectural agreements to see that we could install a law that says we cannot have our viewing obstructed by things of that sort. Building a house is totally different. It is only going to be for a limited amount of time. Mr. Wilson does his building, okay? However, something of that sort, it causes a sore eye. And it could also have animals that are going to be living there, snakes. We are known, we have copperheads, we have rattlers, and but if we create an environment for them, I do believe that we're just setting ourselves up for some more problems. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Any other comments from the board of directors before we take this to a vote? Okay,
We
hearing,
have a motion to drop this policy.
we have a motion. Yeah, we did not get a motion.
No, that's what I'm.
That's what I was going to move, that we drop policy 22.
I'll second it.
Okay, so I have Gail made a motion and we have Liz that second it. Any other comments before I ask the question? Okay, all those in favor of withdrawing policy 22 as presented to the board last month from consideration, please raise your right hand. Okay, all opposed? All right, we have 6 and up. Okay, policy 22 will be dropped from the order of business. Next order of business is new business. And that's to ratify actions taken by the board at the 27 May special meeting of the directors and consideration of amending how the special meeting of the members scheduled for 1 July would be conducted. And I was not there for that meeting, so I will defer to you, David.
Yes, I can speak to that. So we had a discussion a couple of weeks ago, specifically dealing with the plan of attack, if you will, for the special meeting to be held on July 1st. And that would be held for discussion, where both pro and con members would be able to vote or to speak their piece. And as a board, we decided that the best method of doing so would be via a virtual meeting. So the thought being that a virtual meeting would provide everybody equal access to be able to view the meeting, be able to see what's going on, and to be able to have an equal opportunity to speak. So we as a board decided that that would be a feature that we would adopt, and that also we would have both a virtual vote available as well as a ballot vote or paper ballot vote. So everybody would be given the opportunity to vote virtually if they so choose. But if anyone does not have access to be able to do that, we would also provide them a paper ballot. So that's what was recommended by the board at our special meeting that we held a couple of weeks ago.
Just for your information, there's about 3, I think there's 3 owners. You just don't do computers. Okay? And so they are provided paper ballot each time that there is a vote in the development.
Could you clarify the non-voting versus a yes vote, a no vote, and somebody who does not vote? And how those will be treated?
The bylaws say that this particular vote is a simple majority.
Of those voting?
Of those voting, yes. This is different than the DCR vote.
Okay.
a simple majority. Look it up, Google it, good read, okay? It says, you know, the majority is one more point above, or at least half or more. Well, at least half plus one, okay, of all people that voted.
Votes cast.
Votes cast.
David?
Okay, got it. Do you
David?
have a question, Julie?
Yeah, no, I have just a statement that I think we also determined when we had that meeting that you, Eugene, would have the opportunity to have a speech, a virtual speech that Dick would put out there so that everybody could have your comments before they made the vote. Is that correct, David?
That is correct. And Eugene has stated that he'd like to make that a live talk. He has expressed interest in not doing it as a recorded video. So that will be his option to be able to use.
Okay, we got another question right here. David, you please come up to the podium.
Hi, David Wong, Holly Tree Drive. As a, I'd like to clarify something. On that day, July 1, there going to be any speakers who will present their position as to why they would like to remove Mr. Durkin from the board? Because I haven't really, I've heard some, and you can see it all in the somebody will,
I can't hear anybody. I'm kind of noise.
Can you mute it?
presentation on that day before the voting goes on of the reasons by persons or person or personally as to why they initiated the removal process.
There'll be ample opportunity for both the pro and con. We've not ironed out all the details about exactly how the speakers will be scheduled on that given day. That information will be emailed out to by a letter via letter to the Gardens membership in the next couple of weeks.
A letter or email?
Well, it'll be a letter on email, but
Okay, just.
either way.
I had someone, a resident, speak to me about their interest in being able to respond to Eugene's remarks. So I would like to see that be one element. And also too, when David was talking a little while ago, is that, you know, that people would have 3 minutes to speak. Or, again, this is what we're tossing around, 3 minutes to speak. That Eugene would have some period of time to speak that, you know, was very specific. But, you know, that it wouldn't go on and on. As he said, we don't want to have a 3-hour meeting. So, you know, those things
No,
would be taken into consideration.
I understand that, but I think it goes to support or to why somebody would vote one way or the other if they would hear from the people who sought Mr. Turpin's removal. I mean, the reason could be, I understand that there was a lineup of removal of any board member. And it could be as innate as you don't like the garden gnome that is standing in front of his or her property. Or it could be because I understand he may have, or she may have done something bad and absconded with board money. But but whatever the reason is, I think it goes to where it would sway a person one way or the other on how they would vote. And that's why I'm interested in hearing from the people who sought or seek Mr. Turpin's removal.
David, I think that's a fair comment. And I think something that we should also make a part of this meeting as well.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you, David. Any other discussion?
One quick comment. My name is Jim Kruger, 118 Hawthorne Loop. Relative to being on a virtual meeting, I have been on virtual meetings a number of times. I have never felt that the board has actually asked for comments or responded to anybody raising their hand. I'm not sure what's going on today, but I have heard no comments from anybody online other than a board member today. I'm wondering if we're actually getting the comments from the people that are attending virtually. That's all.
Can I help with that?
Sure, Dick, come on up, Dick. He's the best person to talk about that. I know he's got something in the works.
You got a good point. Virtual meetings are a great thing, but they have to be done right. So what we're doing right now was a stopgap measure to see, do people like virtual meetings? Well, it's turned out to be that's very popular, okay? And it provides a sense of inclusion to the board meetings, which we otherwise don't have, okay? But it is, to your point, it's not done as well as it could be. So I've talked with several people on the board and offered to demonstrate the plans. We were fortunate enough to acquire some equipment. Virtual meeting equipment is pretty expensive, but we were able to acquire some stuff for free. So what we're going to do is we're going to be changing one of our plans for this year is to change the setup so we don't use a little camera like that. We have a big camera back there and we have a monitor up here, and then we change the tools that we use. So for example, when I'm standing here talking, the people that are remote as well as the audience here will be able to see clearly and understand it, as well as when somebody in the board is speaking, they'll be able to do it, as well as raise their hand, and whoever's moderating the meeting will be able to turn everybody else's mic off and make sure that person, and then when they're speaking, you'll be able to see them up there on the monitor, and the board will be able to see them back there. That's a fair amount of work. And I've talked with Buzz, and we've talked about how we're physically going to do it, run wires and all that stuff, okay? That's in the plan. Your comments are right on the mark, but give us a little bit of time to work it. We're all volunteers.
Is there raise your hand if we're in the virtual meetings currently, like there is in Zoom and things like that?
Somehow there'll be a mechanism by which you want to be heard, and it's up to whoever's running the meeting to do the acknowledgement. They don't get to do it whenever they want.
Other ones, I've seen those often very ignored or very hardly ever responded to. It's just, people don't look at it.
We'll make sure that it works, because you're going to have Bruce or myself, whoever's moderating it, to be able to remind the speaker, hey, pay attention. Okay, so we'll work on it. It's perfect.
Dick, let me just make a comment, and to the other members of the community. My thought process would be, we would take names on whoever wants to speak at that meeting, and we would just create a list of those individuals. So let's say we had 32 members that wanted to speak. Well, I would have a list of those 32 members, and to make sure that we didn't overlook somebody on our virtual screen, we would have that list of people so we wouldn't leave anybody out, and no one could, be felt like they were slighted. So that might help relieve some of your thoughts there. Those details, we haven't ironed everything out just yet, but in the next week or so, we hope to be able to do that.
Just be aware, appreciate it very much.
Yes.
Eugene, can I add one more comment while standing here?
Sure.
Because I put her, so I don't want to walk back and forth. One of the things that and I'm a strong advocate of membership feedback to the board. And one of the biggest complaints we've had is that wasn't present. We weren't able to give the board advice and do things that we think we want to do. I'd like to point out to you today what happened. There were two proposals that were unpopular and people didn't like them. They got turned down. Okay, because there is a mechanism in place for that to happen. The one we have now is messy. It was not nice, and I did it, and I'm intimately involved in the bulletin board and the emails. And I'm here to tell you that was a lot of work. And Bruce will tell you it was a lot of work. But it did get done. So my suggestion is that we focus a little bit on improving the way we do it. We have some pretty good electronic tools that are available to us. We improve the mechanism so that it's easier and more convenient for people to be able to voice opinion. Surveys, mechanisms that we have. A lot of ideas could come up, but we do have a way that the board does respond to us with the bulletin board and surveys and stuff like that, and it is working. It can get better, but it is working.
But great thanks to the IT committee for making all of this possible, because a few years ago it didn't.
Okay, we got another one. Is this about the topic at hand?
Yes,
Okay, come on up.
David Shockey, 439 Hollywood Front. I want to make an observation. Does everybody realize that we have no one on the board who's ever received a favorable vote to be on the board by the residents? No, nobody has ever voted.
Absolutely, I have. Absolutely, I have.
Wait a minute. I've been on the board ever since I've been here, okay? And I was voted on most of the time.
Okay.
But right
Besides
now,
Gail.
right here now, you're right.
Now, the other observation is, isn't it odd that we're now being asked to vote on a proposal for removal of somebody from the board who we never voted on the board in the first place?
Well, that's
So
because
that's-
nobody,
So maybe we should be looking at how we want to fix this. Because in my mind, all of the nonprofit organizations that I've ever been a part of, all board members, regardless of their duties and responsibilities, were voted on by the membership. There was never any appointments made by the board.
that's all.
And I think that of a community like ours, we should be actively participating in voting for the board members individually. And not allowing things to be just arbitrarily somebody being put on the board. Now, we talk about the issues of who wants to be on the board. I think that would solve the problem. I think you will find a lot more people be interested if they know that they're favorably voted on by the community to be on the board. Because that means that you want that person to be there.
Good points. Thank you.
So I think that's something we all should consider going forward, because otherwise you'll never have a change in the board
It
that suits
requires,
your satisfaction.
it requires a bylaws change, which is needed.
Yeah, but I mean, it's something that.
Wait a minute.
if
To
that's-
add to that, David, back in November, December, we had 2 open positions coming up. It was put out that we were looking for board members. There was only 2 of us applied, so there was no need for a vote. That's how we got appointed. Had there been more people throw their hat in the ring, then it would have had to have gone to the community for a vote. So again, we got to get you people more interested in being involved.
But I think in moving forward, if that is the method of proceeding forward, of getting the community involved, I think you'll find you'll have more people who will be more likely to raise their hand and say, yes, I'd like to be a board member, or I'd like to be an officer. Because if you vote for that person to take that position,
they're gonna feel comfortable with doing it. Right now, just like trying to get a secretary or get somebody, Gail, people just are not raising their hands. And I know there's good people out there that would be willing to hold those positions. But you've got to get that confidence and faith and trust back in the board before that kind of thing will happen.
Thank you. Okay, what's before the board right now on the table is to ratify actions taken by the board at the 27th special meeting of the directors in consideration of amending how the special meeting of the members scheduled for 1 July will be conducted.
Eugene, I wanted to interject one more thing, is that Jeff had done a ballot, so it was all on one that can be used as a paper ballot and also used on the internet. And we had looked at that and we all felt that that was acceptable. So I would also like to make sure that that gets included in what we're using.
Oh, okay. So does that need to be part of the minutes of this meeting?
I think that was something that Dick thought that could be arranged.
Yeah.
Without, I mean, with work.
Say it
obviously.
more clearly, so I'll make sure before I agree.
The question is about, I think, being able to mail out the virtual ballots as well as a paper ballot. And what would be the mechanism that you would recommend for doing that?
The way we did the last election, we had actually with a vote done virtually. I got together with Gail, who reviewed the electorate that was available. We identified several people that we sent out an email to everybody, said, if you want to get the ballot, you can have it. Just tell us who you are. And those people got a facsimile of what went out electronically later. The ones that the facsimile, those actually didn't turn them in. So we didn't actually use them. But they would have been amended. Those votes would have been added to the electronic result that came in. And when you say you have to be careful, we're not mailing ink out, we're emailing stuff out. Did that answer your question?
This is what Jeff had looked at with you before the ballot, his wording and such. And, because I know that I had looked at
Actually, I
it.
didn't study that, so.
Yeah.
Whatever the board tells me that they want on the ballot is what will be on the ballot.
Okay, so that, I just wanted to do the records that that was the acceptable ballot, that, we had all looked at it at the meeting, and that was included. It's very clear. He did a great job of writing it.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure that was included. Thank you, Eugene.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion, board members, on ratifying the actions from this 27 May?
David, I think we probably need to clarify if we do the virtual meeting on July 1st, when are paper ballots going out? When are we opening it up to electronic voting?
Well, those are all details we need to iron out,
Iron out, yeah.
unless Dick's got something that he
What
wants.
I suggested is a little different than having all the votes happen in one day.
Right.
What I suggested is that I understand there's a meeting on July 1st. I suggested that we open up the voting on July 7th. We close, and that's a Monday. We close it on Friday.
Mhm.
The results will be available on Saturday morning. Okay, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Close it on the 11th. The results will be available on the 12th. That gives people time to listen to what Eugene wants to say, and it also gives people the opportunity to consider and talk together with their spouse and whatever. And you don't have to make a rash decision.
And I know there's also a concern for people. We've got several people up in Alaska and internet is hit and miss, so they would have to make, plans to be someplace where they could log on, so that would allow them to do that.
Well, that's the way we do normal voting, is that we allow a window of opportunity to vote. Well, I felt we should probably do it as close to what a normal vote is as we could. And that was the thought process behind it. What about a proxy vote?
No,
We're not- no.
proxy. This is a simple majority, you don't need proxy.
Because it's internet, that there's an opportunity for everybody to, to plan ahead, know where, because I know someone brought that up. And everybody who's, traveling has an itinerary that's specific, that they know that they can be a certain place to, within that period of time to be able to, there's libraries, even though they're small, there's still, there's places that you can get online. And, that way it takes the whole messy proxy thing out of the way.
There's a Starbucks anywhere. There's a Starbucks anywhere.
They are few and far between up there.
I have a question, David. I don't know if this would be right, but to me, it seemed like we should limit the people who are speaking against. I'm not gonna listen to 32 people. I'll maybe listen to the first 3 or 4. But I'm gonna tell you, personally, I ain't gonna stay there. Listen to 33, 34 people saying the same thing. Could we not limit like 5 maybe?
I don't know
No, I
5,
don't think
but
so, no.
Let them decide who it be. I don't care.
There are measures we can condense that down a little bit. So we will have to iron out those details in the next week or so and let everyone know what they are.
that's not right. We're into it.
Sorry, folks. The suggestion that I would make here in terms of people speaking, my concern is that things be fact-based and not opinion-based. And if someone can't provide facts on one side or the other, they have no business standing up and talking about what they think. It needs to be a fact-based conversation so that we all understand. I've seen emails floating back and forth with all of this stuff, and I really don't have a clue what's factual, what's opinion on either side. So I don't know how you control that, but it needs to be fact-driven.
Very good.
Do we have a motion to ratify the actions taken by the board on 27 May, special meeting of the directors?
Also move.
I second.
So we got Gary made a motion. And Bill seconded the motion. Any other discussion on ratifying the actions taken by the board?
Realizing there's still details to be worked out.
Yeah. Is there anything that needs to go out with the minutes of this meeting other than
Which is,
what you did on 27th is accepted?
So let me summarize.
Okay.
So a virtual meeting, we would include as voting, it would be done virtually. Really, that would be the only amendment to our current change that would take place at this time,
Okay.
with still a few details to iron out as to all the little things that we can use to make our virtual meeting a little more smooth.
So virtual meeting on 1 July, and there'll be a virtual vote.
what time?
Yes, 9 o'clock.
9?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'll add that into the minutes here, or somebody will. Who's taking the minutes for this
Do we know
meeting?
where that's going to be held?
Say again?
Do we know where that meeting's going to be held? July 1st? Are we still doing the
Virtual,
total virtual?
Yeah.
so not here, it'll be all wherever.
Virtual.
You didn't say the votes on the first, did you?
Say again?
No, we did not say
No.
votes on
No.
the first.
I didn't hear.
Virtual meeting on the 1st is what I understand,
Correct.
and a virtual vote at some point.
Soon to follow.
Oh, so it's not gonna be at the center?
No.
Originally supposed to be.
So will not be done at Cumberland County Community Complex. Okay, so that's the changes to what the other meeting was. And, all right, and more to follow. Okay, so I have a motion and I have a second to ratify all the actions that were taken on the 27th of May. All those in favor, raise your right hand. So we got 6 that approve that. And so, no objections. Okay, next order of business is nominations for secretary. I know we got a bunch of them out there.
Get any responses, Jeff?
No, you sent an email out.
No,
Not one?
not one.
See?
A couple people expressed interest if some things changed after July 1st, but nobody jumped up right now.
Okay. Gary, would you like to share what you found out about potentially hiring a secretary?
Sure. Seeing we've been having an open position for a period of time and Liz volunteered to take notes. I then said, okay, obviously we're not going to get a volunteer from within, so let's go to a search firm and find somebody. So I called several search firms here in the community of Crossville, and only one responded, and that's a company called Small Biz. And I met with them, and they can provide secretarial support at this meeting. We'd get 3 hours at $150 for the full 3 hours. Anything over the 3 hours is $45 an hour. And they will guarantee we would always have someone here to take our secretarial notes. And they would identify someone and assign someone to us. In the event that person was sick or couldn't make it, one of their office staff would come in and cover for us. So that's a temporary solution.
Or permanent if nobody steps up.
Or permanent if nobody steps up.
I want you to understand that this is an unbudgeted item. Okay? I had some comment.
So
Somebody
Gail,
asked,
where would the funding come from then?
where would it?
Yeah,
Oh, we pay the bill. Where, our net income at the bottom line would start to deplete. Okay? If we broach the current budget, by the way, if you read it, it says we're already $2,000 or something minus. We've never broached a budget since I've been here. Is it possible? Yes. $150 every time we have a meeting.
And that's not just monthly. I mean, we have special meetings.
Yeah.
That require
So
maybe not 3 hours worth of
don't even know how
secretarial, but
to, have to think a lot about even budgeting something.
And I was
Which
just
we have to
talking,
do for next year if we do this.
and I was just talking about covering our board meetings.
Yeah. That's it.
Why not just report them?
We do now, we record it and make sure that they get out there on what, YouTube? Go ahead.
I don't know if this will do the trick for you or not. There is some pretty good electronic tools available that are available now in which you do the recording and it will do a transcription for you. And then subsequent to the transcription, you use AI to do a synopsis and you take that and edit it. And then that is dependent upon having good acoustics.
You know what that all does? Takes the humanness out of it.
well, but besides that too, I have to tell you, after going through and, because I'm a teacher, I'm not a secretary, so to catch the essence of what's going on here and go back through those audios, first of all, you want to.
You don't go through the audio. There's a transcription.
Well, the transcription, go through
Transcription.
the transcript. It's a lot, and there's a lot of stuff in there that doesn't make any sense. And you have to listen to it 3 or 4 times, and right now, the technology is not as good as it could be.
Is it a requirement? The AI does an amazingly good job.
It would have to.
We're supposed to eat lunch, right, under our violence? Yes.
We could try it.
Would you guys like to try it as an experiment?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
The next meeting we have, to do a recording and do a transcription and have AI do a synopsis and just doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, to see what
You
it
can
does.
try it and see if it's.
Well, if it's free, yeah, let's do it.
That's in our price range, free. That's in our price range, free.
I don't want to take a lot of heat, okay? I mean,
That's a good idea, Dick.
Yeah.
Okay, Dick volunteered to be the secretary for next month. Thank you very much, Dick. By the way, who's doing the minutes of this meeting?
Yeah.
I didn't volunteer.
Hey, I hope you got that on recording. Maybe we should try that this meeting.
I don't think the acoustic, we try, I'll look at it and see what happens with the
Because
transcription.
we don't have anybody taking the minutes right now. Why wait? Tag, you're it.
It won't hurt to try.
All right, awesome. Good try. Otherwise, we have to come back and revisit this and look at that $150, I guess. Okay, next order of business. Thank you, Dick, for taking that on. Look forward to the results. Nominations for new members to the Architectural Committee. I have Architectural Committee Chair sent within his committee reports 3 individuals that he requests the board appoint as members of the Architectural Committee. That's the one committee that we have in our organization where all the members have to be appointed by the board. Very important committee in accordance with our DCRs, and that's why it's that way. So I have 3 names here, Joyce Lubinsky, Joe Agnaro, and Chris Quillett. Those are the 3 names submitted by the Architectural Committee Chair. Are there any objections to the 3 individuals being added to the Architectural Control Committee?
I move they be appointed.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion by Gail, second by Gary. Any objections? All those in favor? Okay, so moved. And those 3 individuals will be added to the Architectural Committee as of now. Next order of business, nominations for members to serve on the Nominations Committee. Liz, I know you got one, right, Barbara?
Mhm.
Do you have another one yet?
No,
Okay, so still working on that?
yeah, but it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. I'm gonna consider that order of business done, then it won't come back up. And you just let us know when you have that other member, and we'll make a note of that. Because we do need to have it recorded in the minutes.
All right.
Next order of business is a proposal to acknowledge acceptance of the MOA signed on 29 May by the developer and the HOA president to install 4 entrance lights on Northside Drive, install a fountain in the Holly Tree Pond, and to deed the Phase 1 common area to the Homeowners Association by the end of this year. And that MOA went out. All the board members got a chance to see it. They saw it before it was signed, and they saw it after it was signed. And so just want to formally acknowledge that. It'll go out with the minutes. Any comments on that from board members?
Did the board approve the MOA?
Yes, the board approved the MOA before it went to the developer, and they looked at the wording of it. I think there was an addition, added 1 sentence on one of the paragraphs when it was revised, and then it went to the developer after that, and it was signed. So
Was that approved in last month's minutes? Is that in minutes from last month?
I do not know. I do not know the answer to that. I know it's been worked on for a couple of months. So,
Question,
yes,
why do we want to own property around these houses?
if you own it, you control
Come on.
That's more taxes for the HOA, that's more
Yeah.
taxes,
Well-
insurances, maintenance.
We're responsible for the common area, regardless of whether we own it or not. That's in our charter.
Okay, but what-
The whole intent when a developer develops is he will maintain control of the land until he gets done with everything that he wanted to do with that piece of land. And once that's happened, then he transfers it over to the HOA. That's why you have an HOA. So they manage the property while he continues to develop. That's the whole purpose of
Why
our
not
section.
the homeowners have property around their own house?
You don't want it.
Because it was established as a condominium project in the very beginning when those deeds were created. And because of that, the deeds for those properties do not include any land. And that's what we inherited as a developer. This is
Phase one.
This is phase one. It's an area of property that's around 12 restaurants on White Oak Circle. Okay, that's all it is. It's about 1.5 acres. Okay, so any other discussion from board members on this proposal to accept the HOA agreement as signed by the developer? Yes.
You got a question?
Who's
Hold up.
talking?
Dennis Kerrigan, 105 Gardens Drive. You're saying it's only 4 or 5 houses, but this MOA, number one, it was signed by you and the developer. I don't know who else knew about it here that are members, but I had no idea about it. And I think a couple of people said, we're inheriting, if we take 1 through 5, this is what this MOA is referring to. It refers to when this is done, when that is done, on completion of, but it doesn't say what we're talking about. Are we talking about building a new something, or, and the fence, all the fences around here, I think as someone put in their email, are 6 or 7 feet in from our actual property. The whole thing is then done without anybody knowing about it. And you're committing the HOA to Hickory or wherever it is in the new section to spend money on property that's not ours and to accept property that we don't need to have. But I get the impression from some of the members of the board that you didn't all sit around and talk about this in a little session and agree to it. Sounds like it was done by somebody. Here it is, no? All
right. Let me comment a little bit on that. I have a letter here from Gardens Incorporated, Gardens Holding LLC. It came to the HOA in November of 2018. And it said, this letter is to notify the Gardens RV Village Homeowners Association of our intent to transfer the planned common area currently platted around the lots located in phase 1 of the Gardens development. That was done in November of 2018. And there's also another letter that was done in December of 2018 that is a letter of intent of the developer to transfer the common area currently platted inside the cul-de-sacs of White Oak Circle, Hickory Hollow Circle, and Hawthorne Circle to the association. And it's taken a while to get to this point. It's been a long time coming, 2018. But he has agreed to get this done this year. Here's a printout of the land that we're talking about right here. Everybody can see that. It's a total of 1.5 acres. And it basically is the land that is on the other side of the ponds that go up to the people's properties all around White Oak Circle.
So why do we want it?
It's not a matter, we don't get a vote on whether we want it or not. We own it.
How do we own it? It's his property.
It goes back to
I know it
when
goes
we
back
formed
to
as an
maintain
HOA
it.
and we maintain it.
Maintain it. So we're now maintaining it. We've been maintaining it for 15 years.
Right.
So what is the change now? Why do we have to incur?
Because he's done with it. The developer doesn't
He was
want.
done with it in 2018. This has been dragging on for years.
Yeah, it was it's not on his high priority list, I guess, down kind of low, he's building houses and stuff. And, when you got engineers and surveyors that are working on, houses for construction, doing a plat map for, 1.5 acres was probably low on the priority.
Would you ask Tim to
But-
speak to this?
But,
Would you ask Tim to speak to this?
if he wants to speak to this, he can.
I don't have a problem with it. How's it been surveying? Eugene?
Right. The mic has a hard time picking him up.
So. Yeah. But it's part of the development. The one thing I cannot do, and is the HOA cannot give property back. Now, I held on to that property until all the houses were built. Dean's house was the last. And I knew, looking at the footprint, that there was a lot sitting in there that if I didn't increase the land, we would never sell that lot. He couldn't do what he wanted to do. At that time, it wasn't he, it was just somebody. But there was a hole there that I knew that if I gave that property over at that time, we didn't have enough room to build that house. Same thing's going on with the far north pond. I'm putting a lot of leveling in there. I want to make that a nice little area for HOA. But what happens is if I give that land to HOA, I'm off of it. I have to ask these guys permission to do anything. So that's why we weren't I didn't transfer that land until we got all the houses built. And at that time, I'm quite ready to. We had a lot of misfortune. Mike Stump was the land surveyor. 2019, he was literally closing, doing his final survey on that. He screwed his shoulder up. You see, we know about that. Had to go into operation. Then we got into COVID. Then he got disappeared. We were right there. I tried to revive it a little bit. The engineering firm here in town, Mr. Stump is kind of sometimes available. We lost his wife last month.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So we are trying to now transfer that, but I can't transfer property if I'm going to continue to improve it. Because I can't put a worker on it, I can put those around without these guys having their vote about what can you do that. I've got a lot of things I want to do around that top pond up there. We just talked about making another lift, getting another 10 foot on that, the area. See, if I would have given that over to you guys, I couldn't do that. So that's been the balance all along of, when I actually hand something over. I want to give it to you. It's part of the community. It's part of the common area. But we are working right now we thought we had Mr. Stump located through the engineers. And then he, like I said, he lost his wife. I made a call 2 or 3 days ago, as he reappeared. He's an old guy like us. We may have to, I may have to hire somebody new to do the whole thing over again. We paid him almost $5,000 for that. And he was right there finished. But that's it. The main reason I don't get property over so quickly is I can't then do the improvements I want to do to it. So I pay taxes on that all along too.
Well, it seems now that the problem is not that you're giving the property up on High Street, is that you're not maintaining. That's the problem, the people are complaining that they have a mess up there. So why aren't you maintaining?
Do the best you can.
And at one time, you had said that this property back here in section one, and you wanted to get to the homeowners when they sold their house, the next person coming in would have lot lines.
Yeah,
So that's.
they talked about that. That was 5 or 6 years ago. They were trying to figure out how to make those 8 or 9 properties similar to everybody else's property. So there was a discussion, just like we have discussions here. There was discussion about we can plat it where they have a plat and a lot. But it would take effect when they sold their lot or house, because they got a good deal. And nobody wants to have a lot, they like what they got. I can't. Yeah. So there was a discussion years ago about, yeah, when we sell that house, we've got a lot and block deal that goes back to. But that's not really functional.
So do we have a recent survey for this property?
We had one 2019. And Mr. Stump has got all that data. He's told me he's got it.
And is all the corners marked?
No, they're pinned.
No.
Yeah. And you're right, the fence line was my dad set the fence line about 10 foot back for some reason. But this survey was straight to the pins, and it went to the building corners. We've got 1 or 2 places stuck a little bit more out now.
So you're gonna move the fence back to it a lot?
I'm not gonna move anything. I'm gonna plat the land, I'm gonna give it to you. You know, if the homeowner is right in there, or the HOA wants to move the property back, they can.
The HOA probably shouldn't accept it until the fence is back.
No, the fence has been there forever. That was the first fence put in there 25 years ago. Why do they want more land to mow?
The MOA says that you and Eugene signing says that we have to have access to all the land. With a fence inboard, 8 or 10 feet or whatever it is, we don't have access to that land.
Well, I've got a couple of ground guys, we'll take the damn fence down. The fence has never been an issue. I mean, you guys are making it an issue. It's been there 25 years. Just the way it is. Not a reason.
It wasn't our property then. It was your property.
And it was part of this development. It's been part of this development. That's phase 1 from 1990.
I agree with that.
Yeah. You just don't want to pay the bill. I've paid the bill since 1990.
And we've been paying the bills to cut it.
Huh?
And we've been paying the bills to cut it for.
Yeah, it's part of this project, guys. You know, don't pay a nickel and dime yourself to death. This is the prettiest property in the entire country for what we are. And you sit there nickel and diming? You don't want to mow that yard?
Where's this fence at that we're talking about?
Oh, it's across the back up there.
The perimeter fence.
Yes, perimeter fence.
It's like all.
It goes
How
how,
rates from us, from the.
how far? How far does it go?
I'd say 5 or 10 feet up there.
No, I mean, does it start at Sparta Drive and go? How far?
Yeah. Now, these guys have all rectified it. You know, these guys moved the fence back years ago.
Yes.
Your property moved the fence back years ago.
Okay.
These guys right here, from about the corner of that lake back there, for 100 foot, that fence is 5 foot in.
Okay.
And, you know, if it becomes a major issue, but as far as I'm concerned, leave the damn fence in there. It's got a nice shrubbery. What are you gonna do? You're gonna cut the trees down and expose yourself to the property next door?
Yeah, it's pretty similar to what we have on the other side of the east pond. There's a chain link fence over there as well. And this property has been HOAs for a long time. And so there is a fence that runs down here between the neighborhood on Kings Road, their backyard that butts up to the Gardens development. There is a chain link fence over there. It is in disrepair, and it needs some repair work done to it. We have repaired this other chain link fence on our way drive in the past, since I've been here at least twice. And I think it's been repaired, done previous years before we.
But yeah, that's the bottom line. I know transfer of property.
I think it's in our best, and I think it was brought up before. Some of the homeowners, depending on where their property line was, when they got it surveyed, their lot surveyed, and they went ahead and pushed a new fence up against their back property line, which was fine. I don't see a need in trying to recapture, 6 feet of land on the other side of the fence if it's all brush and trees. I know on our way drive, we're right across the street from me, the neighbor that backs up to that city right of way over there a couple of years ago put up a chain link fence in his backyard. And I looked at it, I thought, well, that's kind of odd, because we got 2 chain link fences back there now. And then I realized, okay, that was his property line that he cut it off at. And then the other chain link fence was part of the original perimeter fence that's still there. So you got this space that's like no man's land, that's all fenced in. You can't do anything with it. But it actually serves as a pretty good buffer, I think, for wild animals and dogs to come through. They're not going to run through that thicket. You're going to take the easiest access they can find.
Years ago, I was gone for a few weeks, and my ground crew got real ambitious and cut all the damn shrubs right down the fence line on Homeless Hill.
Yeah.
They just opened up Homeless Hill up to garbage. But yeah, bottom line is, I keep the property and I pay the tab until we do all the improvements that we want to do. And I've still got a lot of improvements I want to do back around that area. And that doesn't mean that we're not getting advantage of it as a community. I mean, we're talking about this land right here. That's part of the community.
And we did do some drainage work back there. I know,
Yeah.
you had your guys working behind Joe Scudder and, his neighbor, and we did a lot of work back there on trying to improve the drainage.
I have a question to back up about the lights at the entrance.
It's just for the development. Or
What kind of lights are you gonna put in there, like we have?
They've already bought
Sorry?
them. They've already bought them.
solar.
Solar?
Yeah.
Oh, they're all solar powered.
Yeah. Yeah, they've already bought them. I guess they're sitting here somewhere.
They're in the basement of the clubhouse.
Well,
Right below us.
Yeah.
You bought
I bought them. And that's another thing. I'm gonna start attending these meetings more and more where people start understanding some of the stuff they're doing.
them. That'd be great, Tim. I think we'd all like that.
How much do those lights cost me?
Again,
How much those lights cost?
$1,000.
That's nice. But anyway, we're not putting them in just yet
Right.
because the city is fixing to tear up our entrance right here, our first entrance going out to the north side. They've agreed that the RV park that's going in next door to us, they've agreed to give them basically our water and sewer. They're gonna pick it up right at Boyd's old house. And they're gonna end up tearing an entire thing down through there. By putting water on one side, sewer on the other side.
No, I'm still on.
And they were supposed to actually
So
start
they're
last
gonna
week.
feed the new campgrounds from ours?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
There's people back there having water pressure problems now.
yeah, I know.
And they're gonna take more water?
So if we have water pressure problems from day one from now on, I'll give you the city commissioners' telephone numbers. Because it's gonna cost me $185,000 at the least to come to the point where we can continue development. But they just frickin' gave all of our water and our sewer to those guys. And they're gonna tear up our road, putting it in.
These solar lights, how long are they supposed to burn during the day? If you get sun.
I didn't see them. They handed me a bill, okay?
Yeah, they're supposed to be some of the best commercial solar lights that you can get on a lamp post. We tested them at night to see what kind of light, you get from them. We think it's gonna be sufficient for a good while. We don't know yet, because we ain't had it, but they got a 5-year warranty on it. And, so we'll see. So when they die, we have to replace them at our cost. Or not, I don't know.
So I'm confused. Why do we have a memorandum of understanding that's getting into the developer's business regarding his plan for developing our community and have combined it with things going on related to the land of 1 to 5? It just seems to me that he's responsible for developing this subdivision in a way that's going to retain our property values, in a way that's going to be pleasing to the eye, as one of the other gentlemen indicated. And this is all being coded into a memorandum of understanding somehow that I have no idea how much Tim enjoys having this, but it's tying his hands to continue to make this development a good development that's going to be saleable. And I will tell everybody our property values are going down as we speak, based on what I'm hearing for people who are now putting their lots on the market because they don't like the dissension of the board. And now we're tying this guy's hands as to where he's going to put his lights. You have a plan for it. You ought to be able to share the plan with this community and say, this is what I'm doing and this is the plan. I don't need a memorandum of understanding to cover that.
Well, I appreciate your viewpoint there, because I think there's people in here I've had disagreement with in years. There's people here who don't like me. But you can't say that I haven't done a pretty damn good job for 25 years. We have the best property in the entire country of this nature. And I'm going to be here more often because I'm going to start explaining. I've never explained, there gets to be rumors out there and everything. This memorandum was handed to me by the board. They said, we want a clarification on this. So I looked at it and I signed it.
Yeah, what drove the memorandum of agreement that we're talking about here today was a lot of years of complaint from people that live around the Holly Tree Pond. Right now, I put that fountain in. He bought it years ago. It used to be in this little property back here that was recently sold. A little fish pond, we call it. That's where that fountain used to be. Well, when he had to create the Holly Tree Pond for environmental reasons, he said, I want to make it look pretty. We got to have a water retention area, which is required by engineers. I want to make it look pretty. And so let's go ahead and go above and beyond what's required from the engineering department. And he did that. And so they dug it out really. If you talk to our water control guys, they'll tell you that is the best pond we have in the development because of the depth of it. And it cannot overflow its bank because of the construction of that overflow pipe that's in the center. That's really deep in the middle. I've been in it. Now, the homeowner that lives adjacent to that pond, he has been supplying the electricity to run that fountain for years. Got a 100-foot extension cord going to his house. And I've been working with the developer on trying to alleviate that because that's not good. We need to get some electricity over there. So we need to get a real fountain over there. When do we get a real fountain? This was a temporary fix to put this fountain in, sort of get some aeration in the water to help the algae side work and to take care of some of the growth that was around there. I don't know if any of y'all remember a few years ago, it was all grown up around the edges of that, and that thing was a mess. So this is part of that long-term project fix that has not been a priority to the developer. But with this MOA, it's a priority for this year.
He's pushing me.
Well,
I'm not
it ought to be in a separate document.
Yes.
The people in this area here, if we're talking DD property, they should have.
It is a separate document.
I saw an MOA, MOU that had everything together.
Everything all.
You got it all in one document. He's gonna do the entrance, he's gonna do this, he's gonna do that, and he's gonna do the land. And that's not the way to handle
Okay,
things
so
that are
you think
conflicted.
it should be 3 separate MOA?
Absolutely, and there should be further discussion with Tim as to, I mean, I don't see why you want to put it's like a penalty for everybody. He's making a commitment, whether it's a verbal commitment or an MOU, he still owns the property. Okay, and we need to deal with him professionally and unilateral or bilaterally to make sure that things happen the way the homeowners on Holly Tree think that it should happen. I shouldn't have a say on what's going on in the north, but my house. But it's got to be more than one document, and that's where the board should reconsider, in my opinion.
I'll basically sign whatever you guys, because we intend, that's kind of, I intend to continue making this Smith property. Now, we've had 3 or 4 years here. That's just been terrible. And quite honestly, my wife and myself have funded these last 3 years basically out of our pocket. That's one of the reasons we haven't had a whole lot of activity. But economy's starting to move again, I guess. I've still got a few 401s out there, but we did not have a lot of progress in the last 3 years. As you can see, we're starting to get some progress now. But I think we've done a pretty good job. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've only been here a little less than 2 years. And there's other properties within this development that have similar situations. You were talking about the electricity running from a house to the fountain in the pond. I pay the electricity for the light that's up by the road, by the walking path. Also, my property line is at my sidewalk, about a foot beyond my sidewalk, and at my rear fence. And I maintain that entire lot. Okay, we mow along all the way up to the walking path. We mow all the way back to the bridge and the creek or drainage or whatever that's back there. Once again, I'm maintaining that. I don't own it. Okay. I think so. I don't think that's HOA either. I think that's.
That falls into don't turn it over until you're done with it.
I think you're done with it, aren't you?
Well, no, I got kind of the deal there was we're ready to turn it over, but the association directors will not let me turn it over until the no, it's drainage. The drainage. Yeah, that's a whole different story. It includes those 2 lots that were in the middle of transferring to make a garden park.
On the other side of the.
Yeah. Where I was supposed to, the people who own those 2 lots transferred them to me. I was supposed to immediately transfer them to POA because I'm the only one that give land to the POA. That was also 6 years ago. So I took that property in as requested, turned around, was ready to turn it back over to POA, and got told, oh, no, we're not going to take it until you fix the drainage down through there. So I got stuck with it. I'm paying 2 lots POA. I'm paying taxes on it for 6 or 7 years now. I can't do the drainage till we feel there should be a water section. Because right behind his house. We would put this stuff in back before we start to his house. So again, I can't turn the property over until I'm done with it. If I were to turn the property over,
I think you're talking 2 different properties.
it's the same thing.
No, he's talking about next to his house.
Well,
You're talking about Laura's house.
Well, no, it goes right. Yeah, it goes right.
Drainage.
So, and now, we have a situation where I've been told that the bridge, that they're not gonna accept the bridge. I'm being told that, if I give that property where the waterfall is, they're gonna bulldoze the waterfall. So, we've got some issues with the attorneys. Once I turn it over,
So who's, is it the board that's standing in the way? Or-
Yeah.
And who on the board? I mean,
it's a different board.
It's a different board, not this
that's
board.
not this board, the previous.
Right, right. So, again, I get kind of stifled. The two lots that are sitting there, behind Bill Ward's house, those lots, they're independent of the drainage area that I was told all of a sudden that, oh, we're not gonna accept that land that we asked you to buy, right, that we asked you to transfer. Until you go in and fix that. I can't fix that until Bill's house is finished, the ditch is done. So I've been stuck with that land. for 6
This
years.
is kind of the discussion that's going on, because why would the HOA want that property behind my house up to the creek? And Steve's property next door up to the creek? Why does the
We
HOA
are
want
talking
that?
about different properties.
What does it say? Your names.
I know, but you're talking next to Steve, he's talking next to Steve, right?
Steve Roscoe.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's talking next to his house, you're talking about behind Ward's house.
It's the same.
It's the same
property.
Same piece of property.
Same parcel.
Gotta deal with it as one.
Yeah, and it was originally shown as a common area. Look at that.
So I think what needs to happen here is we need to discuss it as adults
Correct the drainage.
and,
But we're doing that.
Not unless you're months.
but once again, who's that gonna be turned over to once it's done? I mean, is it the
HOA?
HOA? And then is the HOA gonna maintain it? Because right now I'm paying to maintain it and I'm paying for the electricity and the light.
Everybody
Well,
pays
that-
for electricity.
Everybody's gets a line.
Everybody's got a light coming off their electric bill on their,
That's your light.
either in the front yard or the backyard.
Fix them, you pay for the electric. The fact
That's not on my property.
Right, the fact that they're on the sidewalk, it's ownership.
It's another discussion on lights.
Yeah.
Now, that's a whole nother issue. And there's a reason we don't have streetlights in this development. And the reason we don't have streetlights in the development is because his dad, when he first started development, made an agreement with the city. We don't want streetlights. We're gonna put in our own pretty lights.
And I'm
And that's what
perfectly
we're at.
fine with that.
Okay, good.
And I'm perfectly fine with that being. My concern is that I'm maintaining all of that property so that it looks nice, not enough for me and my dogs, but the community too.
I'm paying for it. I got stuck with these two lots for 6 years now. And
I'm paying to maintain it. So,
Gator Mills.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
All right, thank you.
By the way, I'm owing the lots.
Okay, let's get back to the item we have here on the table. We need to get moving. We got a couple more things we've got to cover here. So,
One more comment.
what,
When it comes to the Holly Tree Pond, I live down there. Absolutely none of my neighbors had any knowledge of the MOA. No one ever came and asked us our opinion about anything to do with that pond or anything to work on. I think, again, it's just one of those things where if the board is gonna be doing something, they need to keep communicating with that community. And we've been toting enough out. And I can tell you, that's, when they saw it, it's like, oh crap, where's this coming from?
okay, so, back to the proposal to acknowledge acceptance of the MOA signed on 29 May by the developer and HOA president. That involves 3 items: to install 4 entrance lights on Northside Drive, install a fountain, Holly Tree Pond, and deed the phase 1 common area to the homeowners association by the end of this year. All those in favor of that proposal? unless there's more discussion that needs to be made.
I think we had a good suggestion that the MOA be separated and cover one item apiece. Maybe that's something valid. Think about.
May I ask a question, Gene? Quick one.
Yeah.
The MOA says becomes effective when signed by both parties.
Yes.
Both parties have signed it.
Yes.
I agree we should split them, but what happens to that statement that it is now in effect as of whatever day you guys signed?
Yeah.
That's a good point. I think both parties would have to agree to splitting it up, and then it would be.
I don't have a signed copy.
I think what we're talking about.
I signed it, I gave it to them.
It goes back to what we've been discussing, is that this is done before the meeting, and I mentioned it guest before some of the board members knew, and now it's me. So now we're saying, no, we didn't know about it first, so we had no chance to discuss it before it was signed.
Okay, good point.
You know.
Okay, any other discussion for the board members? Hearing none, then the question is, on the proposal to acknowledge acceptance of an MOA signed on 29 May 2025 by the developer and the HOA president to install 4 entrance lights on North Side Drive, install a fountain in Holly Tree Pond, and deed the Phase 1 common area to the homeowners association by the end of this year. All those in favor of that proposal, please raise your right hand. I think I've lost Julie. So we have none. All those opposed, please raise your right hand. Okay, opposed has it. So the HOA will not, the MOA will not be acknowledged and accepted by the board. So that means, I guess if the board wants to enter an agreement with the developer in the future, then they have to resubmit an MOA.
I think you just have to go through these guys first.
I think so too.
Can I make a suggestion? Sorry. Would it be possible for the board to consider establishing a homeowners developer relationship committee, which would consist of people on Hollow Tree, it would consist of people here, and it would consist of our members, to look at all of the things that are on the drawing board for Mr. Wilson, to understand what the impact are on each of the individual locations, and then to monitor and to move forward, and I would call it an informal arrangement, a gentleman's arrangement, so that Tim is able to get what he needs to get done within his financial ability and within his time frame, but will also meet the needs of our homeowners in the respective areas.
Sounds like a planning and coordinating committee.
I don't have a problem with that, because I think that's, these are some of the things that are leading to the dissension of, between the homeowners, the board, everything that's going on, is that it's an example of what I would view as being a relatively unilateral decision to document something that is contrary to what I think most people in this room are thinking. And we need to do this in a gentleman's arrangement, and we don't need to go through all of this, make work, create stuff that adds to the dissension within this community.
I appreciate it.
It's pretty simple.
What's the status of the plan?
Just real quick.
Go ahead.
Real quick. I've been here 23 years. For the most part, I let the POA do what the POA is doing. And I did what I did is we got together, worked that. I've been reading these board and understanding there's a lot of misconception about what we're doing, just like that big rock pile up there. And I understand that I probably need to start attending the meetings more and start being more transparent to everybody. We pay for a lot of things around here that should be handled bill. You know, but you guys do it, everybody. You don't know that I spent $8,000 in my own money in that damn bag out of here. That was my money, personal. You know, or what we're gonna do about that rock pile that we kind of got to do. We're making lemonade out of lemons. Or the money that there's a big thing, the invoice that I
Jim
never.
Hicks.
Yeah, the Hicks invoice. Bottom line, Jim Hicks is not gonna let me pay that money. I called him telling him, hey, I just got this, it's 3 months old. I had no idea about that invoice. It just got handed to me. I called him up and said, look, I got handed this invoice. I get you some money. He told me flat out. He's told you too. He said, I will not accept your money. I did not negotiate with you. You were not mentioned when I agreed to take the job. I invoiced HOA, and they told me to send it to you. I didn't know anything about that.
We handed you the bill. Dale Cronin.
How you handed me the bill?
That was last year.
Afterwards.
No, Dale Cronin came to you
And
and
held
told
me
you
the
because
final bill. And it was 2 months due at that time. Yeah, it was. And Jim Mitchell told you he would not take my money. The whole time you negotiated with him, you never said a word about me paying for it. I was not told I was paying for it.
that was in place of all those barriers that you were going to purchase.
Yeah, you could have come and talked to me about that.
That's what Dale came to you to talk to you about. Dale Cronauer came to you with the bill. It said we saved you about $2,800 by not purchasing all those barriers.
I told you I purchased those barriers because I was going to use them. I agreed to buy those barriers because we were going to find a place to use them for. I did not approve negotiating with a subcontractor, do that job, and hand me the bill. And Jim Mitchell said very plainly that the whole time he was talking to the board, nobody said anything about me paying the bill. And he refused to take money from me. Now, I'm sorry there was miscommunication there, but I never approved that. But I was going to pay it. I mean, he handed it to me. I was going to pay it. It was $3,000 or something. But now there's a big rumor out on the bulletin board that he did me a favor by getting the board to pay for one of my bills. I got totally screwed with that. Our cost for moving this one bag right here was about $9,000. I paid that. And I would have continued paying some other stuff too. But it was much time. It took a month to do that thing. I don't have a month to do. We got stuff we got to do back there, people's houses. But we were willing to do it. But I never approved secondary contractors to come in and do a job and hand me a bill. So he didn't do a favor. Yeah, there's a lot of talk on the board. He did me a favor by paying one of my bills. So yeah, I'm gonna have a lot more communication with the community from now.
Right. Okay, we need to move on. So the next order of business is an update on the DCR advisory committee that was established during the 6 May meeting of the members. Do we have any updates on that?
So enthusiastic.
You know, there's certain, you know how you become an OPR on things? You don't volunteer necessarily, you just get it. So it ended up maintaining the list of the people on the DCR remove committee. all volunteers. 3 DCRs, so there's 3 committees, basically. Phases 1 through 5, phases 6 and 7, and phase 8. 3 DCRs. We've got, and it was decided that we have at least 4 individuals, volunteers, from each phase on that committee. We have all of the volunteers for phases 1 through 5. They are Scott Chin, Dennis Kerrigan, Dana Sawyer, David Demme. Phases 6 and 7, we have all 4 volunteers for that one. Ken Wurtenberger, Kathy Curtis, Rick Abbey, David Wong. Phase 8, only have 1 volunteer. Randy Johnson. So we need 3 more volunteers for phase 8. In case anybody would like to be on that DCR committee.
Tim sent an email in response.
Tim is on all 3 committees.
Understood, but he sent an email in response to timing for Ken and our meeting and indicated that there, I believe I read it right, that Eugene had indicated that this entire effort was being cast aside and that we weren't going forward with it. And I don't understand.
That's what I was told 2 weeks ago. But now, this morning, I got told, well, it's out of my hands. And one of the members said we need to do it. And I think I've been pretty straight up about this. The DCR are the developer's assurance of keeping his equity. If you screw with the DCRs, I will sue the board. And how many times have you heard me say that? And yet we keep going. We keep having committee meetings. Guys, it's real simple. You screw my DCRs and my business, I will have to sue. I've got millions of dollars invested here. These companies owe me millions. I got millions in the future. And you got committees out here trying to change my insurance, that I get my money back, that I have a project. That's not going to happen. I've never said that to anybody. I've never filed suit against anybody in my life. But I've told over and over and over, I've made that statement. For some reason, we keep proceeding down this path. So I'm just sitting here.
So Ken, your response alluded to the fact that Eugene had told you that this was being taken off the table, if I remember your email correctly.
Mark, for the conversation.
And
Eugene,
is that the case?
It was in my, okay, let me explain how this worked. So there was a proposal for a discussion about some potential changes to DCRs in all phases. The board spent an hour and a half going through the DCR on that. And we all looked at it. We had input to it. Everybody on the board had input to it. Okay. And they said, now we need to let the residents know what we're looking at. So we need to send this out to the residents and let them look at it. And then so we can have a discussion with the residents on it. That's what we did. We sent it out. And there was a board member at the time who said, it'd be great if we could get this out about 2 weeks before the annual meeting. So everybody has a chance to look at it. They can talk about it. They can discuss it with their neighbors. And then in 2 weeks, when we have the annual meeting, then we can all talk about it as one big group and have a good, 2 months to be able to talk about it. Well, that didn't happen because residents from 1 through 5, they wanted to have a meeting to discuss what this impact would be in these potential changes to them in 1 through 5. I came to that meeting, and Melissa came to that meeting, and we never got through those proposals because the meeting kind of ended with, well, if you go forward with it, I'm going to sue the HOA. And that was the end of that. And we had a meeting shortly after that with all the board members that are here. and to try to find some middle ground here with the developer. And that's when he laid out that there's a couple main sticking points on this DCR that I cannot live with. And he laid that out to us. One of them was changing the way the votes are perceived in the DCR and the way the voting is done in the DCR. And then strapping his ability to build houses by inserting architecture committee control over what he's trying to do for his livelihood. So the board agreed, and during that meeting, to go back and change the DCR proposals that we had originally looked at, and we revised them. We sent that out to the community to look at. And then we had an annual meeting. And in the annual meeting, what was proposed by the meeting of the members was we want to take this away from the board and we want to push this out to a committee of the members. And so, okay, it was voted on that night to do that. And so the members is what's created this meeting. This is separate from the board. So this is the association members that wanted to create this commitment. Board doesn't have anything to do with it.
Other than telling him that we're not gonna do it.
I think even at that meeting, as board members, they heard you say, we're gonna take this out, we're gonna take this out, we're gonna take this out. And all of a sudden, we got all these committee things all over.
This is an excellent example of a board that does not know how to conduct business. First off, the DCRs are the DCRs. Leave the damn things alone. Not have a policy adjusted. You can create a policy without screwing with the DCRs. There's just no need for all that. So the board, whoever might have generated this activity, created a lot of dissatisfaction within the different groups.
Yes.
By even initiating it.
Yes.
Because it was uncalled for from the beginning. And so, if there was a time to have done something about the DCRs, it was a long time ago, not today. We should be concentrating on things that are not controversial or contentious or creating more issues. This thing has been dragging on now for how long? And then I'll guarantee you, if you continue down this road on the DCRs, it will be another couple of months and then another couple of months. And not anybody's going to be happy about it. So it just will create more. I guess it's just, I'd like to see us to get away from all the controversial and contentious issues and start talking about some things that help improve the atmosphere within the community. And a lot of that is just simple things. But again, it's easy to take care of it without going through all of this rigmarole of committees and committees and committees. And, you know, why is the public involved? We don't give a shit about the DCR, to be honest. You know, it's a document that was created some time ago, and fine, we'll live with that. If there's something portion that we need to have a policy of some kind, we can create a policy, like the fencing. We can create a policy for fencing that I think will solve everything without all this crap. I have talked to a numerous number of friends and families who have lived in communities where there are HOAs that deal with this thing. And I can tell you there's not one of them to go through this crap. So you've got to have a board that knows how to manage the community from not only a business standpoint, but also from a community standpoint. And that's what the problem is. We've got to get to the place where we've got a board that understands how to do all that.
All right, thank you. We really need to get moving on. We need to get moving on. We got more.
Wondering what I'm doing. Quick question. Who owns the DCRs? Who prepared the DCRs? I don't know legally who owns it.
The developer creates the DCR. Now, the way the federal law, state law, Tennessee use DCRs. You develop them at the front end of the project. That is what gives the developer and the banks that fund the project the guarantee that developer equity is.
This last, I was thinking that somehow we formed these.
That's the developer's equity. And by the
We
way,
should be dealing with the bylaws for anything you want to do.
Right.
Yes. And that's what I've been used to in other places that I've been involved.
Right.
So I want to make that clear. What's legal?
Legal is, we set the DCRs, you bought your land according to DCRs. There's a titanium wire between your deed and the DCRs at the courthouse. Those DCRs protect me when I put my millions of dollars out. I'm working that in the future, everything that I put out will be protected.
If you depart and the development's over, where do the DCRs go? Are they still in effect forever?
Yeah, probably.
Who owns them then?
Yeah, probably.
Who owns them?
Well, there is the corporation guarantee. Which is.
Yeah, we're not the corporation guarantee.
Right,
We're the HOA.
I am. So what basically has happened is the board decided to pop in and start screwing around with something that's worked for 25 years.
Well, I'm just saying, follow the law. Follow the law.
Okay, the law is real simple. Even if y'all change the DCRs, almost every court case afterwards reverts it back.
Well, everybody needs to understand that. Follow the law.
Make a suggestion that we stop messing with the DCRs.
Yes.
And develop a group to work with him to coordinate the stuff that he needs to get done and then report back to you.
Would you take charge of that? Boy, you got, okay.
I know the next buddy.
Would you also communicate that with the other members of that signed up to be on the DCR committee? Would you kind of
Okay, yeah.
You got a list? Gail will share a list with you.
I gotta be sitting there.
Okay.
Here it is. I've been told 3 times. No, there it is. I've been told 3 times.
Okay. You got to talk to Dennis.
No, I'm talking to the board. I've been told 3 times this is just dead. Is it dead?
It's dead now.
Board's not doing anything with it, are we?
No, we're not doing anything with it. It's dead. We're not doing anything with it.
Thank you.
Make a motion and kill it.
How about, I make a motion,
Okay, go ahead.
I make a motion that the DCR initiative, as far as the board of directors is concerned, is dead.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion to discontinue, for the board to discontinue any further DCR discussion. Okay, and I got a motion from Liz and a second from who?
Me.
Yours. All those in favor? Raise your hand. Okay, I got 4, all those opposed? Okay. We had 2 board members that dropped off. All right, if I can have your attention, we're gonna wrap this up pretty soon. The next order of business, so it's so moved by the board today that the motion is dead on changing these.
That'll solve a lot of problems. Because we're killing ourselves.
Right.
Who brought this all up? But I think we've lost 2 sales in the last 2 months over this.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I was sitting there going, I'm not sure we lost the sales, but we had 2 couples that were ready to negotiate in our house. One of them ran out here at 6 o'clock the next morning. And when she finally tracked them down, they said, spent last night talking to a bunch of owners. There's no way in hell I'm buying here.
Please tell the people that the DCR are owned by the developer.
But we knew that. Yeah, they're part of the documents of the court.
Because I don't think they understood, we thought it was dead meat.
I didn't know that, today.
Yeah, okay.
Nobody explained
All
it.
right, we killed it.
Yay!
That's happened, dead. So let's move on. Proposal to address non-residents fishing in the neighborhood. That's the next order of business, I think,
That's me.
that's you.
Over the last couple of weeks,
First time, black pickup truck parked out here, 4 young guys got out, 3 of them went down behind Ernie's house and fished that pond. 4th one is sitting by his truck. So the 3rd kid walking down the spillway, I pulled up and said, hey fellas, this is private property, you can't fish here. And if you don't leave, I'm gonna call the police. Well, he went down to his buddies and I came up here and I stopped and talked to this guy up here by the truck. Well, my grandmother lives here. What's your grandmother's name? He gave me a name. So what street does she live on? I don't know the name of the street, but it's up there by the culvert. I said, well, that sounds like bullshit. I said, well, I'm gonna call the police if you don't leave. And then I went on my merry way. They all came, got in the truck, and they left. And I sent an email to Gail and said, this is what happened. This is the name of the person they claim lived here. Does Grandma live here? She said, no, Grandma don't live here, never heard of her.
She ain't on the members list.
A week later, I'm downstairs in the basement with the irrigation guy, and the truck comes back, his girlfriend comes back, and here comes Tim Magnum with his 3-legged dog. And he stops and he says, hey, this is private property. Who are you? They got the same line of BS, and I confirmed that with him. I said, what'd they tell you? So we need to do something. We've put up signs, but I think we need one more sign, at least by the spillway behind Ernie's. And we need one over here where there's no fence that exists, where the pond comes, where the creek comes from next door into our pond, because the neighbors over there have said, I see people coming through that opening with their fishing poles. I said, well, we got to put up 2 more signs.
See it there.
Because it's liability. If they get injured or die, they're going to sue the HOA, and then you're going to get about $100,000 assessment. Huh?
If we don't have a fence around. Well,
But if we put up
they
this,
eat the fish that gets in there, die.
well, I think we need to put up 2 more signs. And I called the fence company and I said, what do we do to close that off? And he looked at me and he said, well, that's a doggone good question. He says, first of all, you'd have to mow all the brush out so we could get in there. Maybe we could put up some cyclone fence. Maybe we could put up some barbed wire. He says, let me think about that. So I'm waiting to hear from him. But the question is, do we put up 2 more signs? And when we see these people, do we tell them we're calling the police and dial 911 and say, come get these people and get them out of here?
You don't call 911.
Ask him what he can do.
Liz,
Wait a minute.
You do not call 911. It is, you'll take an ambulance and an officer
You don't need that.
that need to attend to emergency things. Call their non-emergency number. Every agency has one.
I understand that, and that's what we will do. We would
Yeah.
call the non-emergency number and request someone to come out and tell these trespassers to hit the road.
Yeah, because otherwise it takes emergency.
We're in the
first
city.
Responder staff up.
So I'd call the, I can start with the city. I'd call the city.
What I'm asking is, he's back here, can we get his opinion?
Sure.
If this is private property and you don't want somebody here, you can ask them to be trespassed, law enforcement will trespass them. From that point, day forward, it's logged in our system. If they get caught back here, then that's trespassing.
Just like on your team.
Yeah. Appreciate that, Rick. Yeah, thank you. But the concern is, while they're here and they're not residents, and they get injured or they die, they're gonna get a lawyer and they're gonna sue the HOA, and all of us are gonna get a special assessment of at least 25 grand because they don't settle this crap for less than $1 million.
That's why we have insurance.
That's why we got
License
insurance.
plate numbers.
Is the insurance gonna cover it all though? Depending on, they take us to court, how big a
I
settlement?
don't know.
Well, that's a board.
They'll fight it with the insurance company.
Okay.
That's a board decision, put up signs. But then please tell us who we gotta call.
I would call the city, the non-emergency police number.
Disseminate, if you call him, if we call the city, tell us who to call.
You can,
Yeah.
you can call the non-emergency not flying, which is 484-6176. That's the sheriff's office. They will direct you to dispatch. All you have to do is tell dispatch, I've got subjects fishing in a private pond, I would like them trespassed. And then an officer will respond, and if they so happen to leave, you can more than happy get a tag number. We can follow up on the tag number because it comes back to an address. We can go check that address. As long as we tell them they are trespassed from this property, which that will be logged, it'll be reported. Once it's reported, if they are back, we can identify them, and it's arrested.
Okay, what was that number again that we should call?
48931-484-6176.
You should put that on the bottom of the sign.
Okay.
That's the justice, that's the sheriff's office, and they can direct you to dispatch. That's the
Bottom of
non-emergency.
the sign.
If you put it on the bottom of the sign, if somebody's walking and sees, then
You call it right away.
that's right away. That's a good idea.
That's a good idea. Lois?
Yeah, I go through here a lot with customers, and I've seen different ones, and I've stopped, and I've talked to them. Actually, every time they have left. But I think if we as individual residents take that responsibility, you see it, stop and question.
Yep.
Because sometimes these are little guys that scare me half to death, and then our grandparents that live in here that allow their small grandchildren to go to the ponds unsupervised. And that's the problem too, because they need to have an adult with them.
Okay. Should we buy 2 more signs?
Is that what you're proposing?
I'm gonna propose we buy 2 more signs to put up. We'll put up
What's
one.
the cost of
What's
the
the numbers
sign?
on there? Put their phone number on there.
Yeah.
Well, now I can't tell you the cost because we're gonna make a sign bigger to put a phone number on.
Oh, man.
That was my grandfather. We have.
You'll just send an email out.
What's the cost on the sign?
The original cost was like $30-some.
Yeah, they were around $33 a piece.
Yeah. But if we're gonna, they'd have to be made bigger, then we can put down there in the bottom, call the sheriff and put the number down. And residents know who to call.
But then we got 10 signs out there that don't have the number.
Well, that's
You
true.
know what? We take a big Sharpie marker and go mark, yes, the number stuff.
Okay, the proposal is to purchase, for the grounds committee to purchase 2
signs
to place.
Yeah, we'll put one by the spillway by Ernie. We'll hang one on the cyclone fence back here, which has been coming through.
Can you take this money out of your grounds committee fund?
I can, because I'm under budget. Right, boss?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor in a second for the grounds committee to purchase 2 additional fishing signs and to put the phone number of the sheriff department on those signs, so
Okay.
residents can easily contact the sheriff department and let them know that somebody out here is not supposed to be here. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed?
We have a budget line item called landscaping material.
Okay.
Sign, right, for our budget.
I have one last item, new business is not on here, I'd like to add, if there's no objections. As a request board approval to pay a non-budgeted expense, and that is for the security peace officer for today's meeting.
Your pocket.
And that is not budgeted, but I would like to pay for services today. If,
I'll so move we pay that.
so you second it?
I second it, yeah.
Okay. Any discussion? $100. If there's no objections, all those in favor, raise your right hand.
I'm non-committal.
All those opposed?
I got a.
Okay. The motion failed. Okay.
I'm out of here.
Okay, the last item here is we have some announcements. Special virtual meeting members to consider the removal of Eugene Turner from the board of directors to be held on 1 July. And the next regular monthly meeting of the board of directors will be held at the clubhouse on Tuesday, 8 July. There'll be a residential information meeting immediately after this meeting for any residents who want to ask any questions. This meeting is now without objection.
Amen.